welcome back to the channel. You're watching Old Guy Firewood, and my name is Dick, and appreciate you being here today. What we're going to do today, I don't know about you, but I've been cutting with chainsaws. I've had a bunch of them, got 7 Huskies now, but been cutting for, gosh, over 55 years. And I've never had a saw that was ported or muffler modded, and I read and hear a lot about that nowadays, so I got to looking online and decided I was going to try to do a muffler mod on my Husqvarna 552 XP Mark II. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and made some cuts on an oak log, made 3 cuts, and touched the chain up before I made those cuts. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and take the muffler off and do some not porting, I guess, but modding to the muffler, and just things I've seen online and on YouTube about how you do a muffler on a 550 XP, and looked at 5 or 6 different videos probably and kind of put together the best of all and into what I thought would be a good way to do it. Now, I'm going to show you in detail everything that we do to the muffler when I have it off. I'm actually going to do a little bit of grinding inside on a baffle plate, and then drill another hole out by the deflector. And after we do all that and get it back together, because it's, you know, the flow of the air through the saw has changed, the auto tune on the saw is going to have to make an adjustment. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and go through the auto tune reset procedure on this saw, and then I'll let it go through its auto tune process and get it to where it's running right with the modifications. And then we're going to make 3 cuts again on that same oak log. I'm going to touch the chain up before we do that, make sure it's just as sharp as it was when we made the initial cuts without the mod, and we're going to time them, and we're going to see if we actually made any gains by going through this muffler mod procedure. So I'm interested to see what it does. I hope you are, and it looks like a pretty simple modification. We'll see, but it might be something you want to look into doing with one of your saws in the future. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and take this muffler off, and it's held on here by 4 Torx bolts. 2 in the front there, and there's 2 up here. Let me get a little light on here. That's better. 2 Torx bolts up in here. Steel plate there. Cover up this exhaust port and blow this mess out of here a little bit. Make sure I don't blow anything back into that cylinder. All right, we'll go ahead and take this spark arrestor screen out. Oh man, that thing don't want to budge. I'm gonna put a little bit of penetrating fluid on there, let it sit for a minute, and it just busted loose, so there we go. That should not have been that big a deal. All right, the first thing we need to do, let me see if I can get a better picture of this. We need to open up an area right here in this baffle. between those two ports. So let me get a drill and get a hole started there, and then I'll see if I can use a Dremel tool and open that up a bit more. All right, I think we got that opened up pretty well there. Need to go back in there with a stone and just kind of dress those rough edges up. All right, I think that's pretty good for that part of the baffle. And now we're going to go around to the front where the deflector is and take some material out there. And we need to take some material out here. And we need to go down in there and take some material out down in there. Make another hole in there. Okay, I think that's good in that area. Now we need to put a hole right in here, and I'm going to try to drill through there. All right, I think that's got it there. Just need to take the stone now and clean that up a little bit. All right, there were a bunch of little shavings down in there. I've got them all out. I think I'm going to go ahead and rinse it out. A little soap and water too, and blow it out again before I put it back on the saw. All right, we'll get this thing back on here. Now, everything I've read said that in addition to improving airflow through the motor, it also will run a little bit cooler, which would certainly be an added benefit. All right, there it is. Let's get it outside. I'm going to go through the auto-tune reset process, which is basically to let it idle for about 3.5 minutes, and then to set the top end or the high end, you run it with the tip buried in a log along the length of a log for about 3 to 5 minutes. So we'll do that, and I'm going to touch the chain up after that to make sure it's in the same condition it was when we did the test prior to the muffler mod, and we'll go ahead and make some cuts and see how the time compares. Well, I lost the audio on the last 2 clips of this video, but basically what I'm doing here is resetting the auto tune for the saw. And what you do is you run at high speed down the length of a log like this. I actually ran it for about 3.5 minutes, and it got to a point where there was a noticeable improvement in the sound of the saw, so I knew it had reset. And here I'm cutting 3 cuts after the mod, and we're going to take a look at the time of those cuts and compare them to the cuts that we made prior to the modifications, and see if there's any improvement. I did feel like the torque, or the saw rather, had a little bit more torque, and but it was cutting fast before and it's cutting fast now, so I guess we'll have to look at the actual times to see if there was any improvement. Folks, that was a pretty interesting experiment, and we actually did see some improvements. We went from, let's see, 10.6 seconds per cut before the muffler mod down to 9.1 seconds per cut after the muffler mod. So that's about a 14% increase. Is it worth it? I don't know. I guess if you're cutting all day, if you're cutting for an hour, you'd save about 9 minutes by going that much faster, 14% faster. But you know, if my saw was still in warranty, would I do it? Probably not, because I'm sure it would void the warranty, but it's not. And it was a fun experiment, and we'll see how it does long term. But if you like this sort of thing, I'd ask that you please go ahead and hit that like button, push the subscribe button, hit that little bell icon so that you're notified when I put out some new videos. And as I always say at the end of my videos, the best advice I can give you now is to keep moving till the next video, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching.